Hi, I'm Angela and welcome to my channel, Befriend and Tend. So today I'm going to talk to you about time management. And let me preface this by saying that the type of time management strategies you need are going to vary depending on what stage of life you are in. In my 20s and 30s, I needed hyper-efficient systems that would allow me to get 3 times the amount of work done in half the time. And during my 40s, I was more in crisis mode, so I wasn't really doing much with time management. Now in my 50s, I've found that I do actually want to start managing my time, but I've also discovered that I need a more humane system. And so I'm going to share with you 5 tips that I've used to develop a humane and yet effective time management system. The number 1 tip is to actually have an idea of how you spend your time. And the best way to do this is to track your time, to gather data about what you do from minute to minute to minute. And it sounds really complicated, but it's actually not. The basic idea is that every time you switch activity, you want to make note of the time and then what your new task or activity is. So it's really easy to do this on your phone. However, I have found that my phone is a distraction magnet, and if I pick it up to do one thing, like enter in a task switching event, I'm probably also going to check my messages or look at my notifications or something else that's going to derail me. So I prefer to use a notebook, something like this, or something even smaller if I'm running around outside the house and I still want to keep track of what I'm doing. Sometimes I've used my computer to track time. I love the program Notion, which I will link to in the description below, and it has this little function where you can just generate a timestamp and then enter in whatever you're doing. Now, tracking your data is only part of this tip. The second part is to make sure that you look at your data, that you analyze it and look for patterns and try to get information that can help you plan strategies and techniques that move you towards more efficiency and less distraction when you're trying to get things done. First time I started doing this a couple years ago, I really had a wake-up call about the amount of time that I spent on social media and on my phone. Like, I knew that it was always more than the 5 or 10 minutes that I anticipated using these things, but I guess I didn't realize how much it was all adding up and how it was really impacting my ability to stay focused and to work on the things that were important to me. So once I had the cold hard data in front of me that I was literally spending 3.5 hours a day on my phone and I couldn't tell you what I was doing, I was able to make a plan and to stick to it to try and reduce that phone usage. Another example is that I realized that my dog would bother me, not all the time, but just sort of randomly in the middle of the afternoon, like she would need attention or she would need a walk or something, and it would disrupt the flow of what I was doing. And so I decided that on the days when I really wanted to focus and get things done, that I would double the time that I walked her in the morning so that she would be really tired and more likely to just be chilling out and laying on the floor, kind of like she's doing right now when I'm working. My second tip, which is really important for people like me who are a little bit ADHD and have lots of things that they're always interested in, is to choose 1 to 5. I like to stick with 3 and maybe 4, but to choose, a limited number of activities to work on during the day. And yes, you may be like me and you may have a list of like 150 things, and it might be really tempting to sort of try and pack them all in there and stack them and get as much done as possible. But the truth is that our brains are bigger than our ability to get things done and to do things, and it's much better to limit yourself and to work on those things and to do those as well as you can, instead of just having this never-ending list of things that you're always trying to do and never really feeling like you're getting closure. So I like to choose 2 or 3 things that are related to the present, to everything that's going on in my life right now. So that might be writing a YouTube script, running to the grocery store, and maybe editing some photographs for my clients. Then I like to choose 1 activity for future me. So if you're familiar with the Eisenhower matrix, this would be the items that are falling in the not urgent but important category. And these are the things that are easy to put off and procrastinate for another day. But I found that just keeping them on a someday in the future list means that they always stay scheduled in the future. And so for me, I like to pull some of those tasks into the present and start to work on them. And for example, one of the things I was doing last fall that was in this For Future Me category was I was learning how to do YouTube. I was watching a lot of videos, I was taking classes, even though I didn't have a YouTube channel yet. It was just a gleam in my eye. But doing that, putting in that work, enabled me to feel ready and to get started and to actually launch a channel. So I think it's a really good strategy for sort of making sure that you pay attention to those things that are important to you but not urgent. So some of the things I'm doing now for future me are I'm enrolled in a mindfulness-based stress reduction course, and I'm also enrolled in a life coaching school because I think that those things will help me create better content and make better videos for you, and also maybe I'll be able to create some products and things to continue to encourage other people to take care of themselves and to be kind to themselves. Tip number 3 is to use time blocking or the Pomodoro Method. And I've done another video about the Pomodoro Method, so I won't go into it in great detail here. But the idea is that you work in short sprints instead of a long marathon. So years ago, I would pick a task on my list and I would sit down and I would work on it as long as I could until I felt like my eyes were going to bleed, and then I would get up and do something else. And the problem with this strategy is it wasn't all that fun, and so it made it easier to procrastinate, because if you knew that there was going to be this big thing and you were going to be like sitting in the chair and doing it all at once, like take your taxes, it's easier to procrastinate that, because who wants to spend 6 hours in a chair doing their taxes? But when you break it up into smaller chunks of time, like little sprints instead of a long marathon, it's a lot easier, number one, to chip away at these tasks. It's not as easy to procrastinate because you can tell yourself, hey, it's only 25 minutes, just do it for 25 minutes, and then you can take a break and then see if you want to switch tasks, or maybe you'll have energy for another 25 minutes. 2 other points I want to make about working in short sprints is that it's a lot easier to focus because it's only 25 minutes. And so if a distraction comes in, you can just more easily tell yourself, I'll just wait until the next break, and you can stay on task. The other thing is I find that I have more energy when I'm doing Pomodoros and working in these short sprints, because in those little breaks I like to do something that is uplifting or gives me energy or makes me happy and just sort of gives me a little boost before my next 25-minute work session. My 4th tip is to use a calendar, or 2 or 3 like me. I have a Google Calendar, which has been a constant in my life for the last 9 or 10 years, and then I have a bunch of paper planners and calendars which sort of come and go depending on what brings me joy in the moment. So the important thing about my Google Calendar is that I put everything in it, everything that has a defined time or a commitment that I've made about time during the day. That all goes into my Google Calendar. Another thing I like to do on my Google Calendar is put all of my recurring purchases in there, so that if I try something else, I will get a notification before the next billing cycle, so I can decide, do I want to cancel this or do I want to renew it? So when I'm mapping out my week on my paper calendar, I always have the Google Calendar up on my computer. And I know this might seem a little redundant, but it's really not, because in a paper planner, I'm also able to put all of those tasks and ideas and things that I want to do that I don't actually have a time commitment like I do with a doctor's appointment. Planner I'm using right now is in my book, Befriend and Tend. This planner has room for planning your self-care as well as all of the things that a busy woman needs to get done. So the one thing I have really leaned into in my 50s is having white space on my calendar. And I cannot tell you how much joy this gives me, because for most of my life I viewed white space in my calendar as an opening that I could let somebody else fill up. So if someone asked me, oh, can you squeeze me in for a photo shoot? Or, oh, can you bake cookies tomorrow? Or, oh, can you drive carpool tomorrow? I would look at my calendar, and if there was white space, I would say sure, even if I didn't really want to do it. I mean, I guess there was a part of me that wanted to do it. There was a part of me that wanted to be helpful, but then there was another part of me that really didn't want to do it and didn't understand that having white space in my calendar is actually a good thing. So I don't do that anymore. I have white space in my calendar and I love it. And occasionally I do have days where things are just stacked on top of each other and I know that they're going to be mentally and physically exhausting. And then I will literally put big X's on the next day or two, depending on how much time I think I'm going to need to sort of regroup and re-energize myself. I really love those, like the games that my kids play that have these like health points, and it's this whole idea that when your health is depleted, you have to go get more health points somewhere before you can continue to fight ogres or whatever. And I just think that's surprisingly relevant to time management. Tip number 5 is not really going to be a surprise, but I know that reminders are very helpful because, you can know something and then you just sort of store it away in the back part of your brain and you're not really thinking about it when you're making choices throughout your day. But the 5th tip is to keep your body in good working order. And that means to get enough sleep, to drink enough water, to eat food that nourishes you and makes you feel energetic, and to move your body. All of this is important for helping you maintain focus when you're trying to be productive, and it also helps you feel better. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video.